Good day, it's Business and Finance here on Echo Television International. I am Rachel Tanzi. Now we're seeing that the Naira is depreciating more and more at the parallel market, and then we are seeing that in the INE window there have been a week on wind sustainers of the exchange rate, but then we have seen that due to the introduction back that is the CBN bringing back bury the change that is the parallel market, the unofficial market, we are seeing that the dollar is soaring, the Naira against the dollar is soaring high, and we are seeing that the Naira against the dollar is as high as 930 Naira to a dollar, in some cases higher, but haven't gone beyond 900 Naira, and some exchanges will go for as low as 800 and 890 Naira to a dollar, but we are seeing that the price at the parallel market has been going high and high and high. And then the reason behind that by the bury the change operators and their complaint is that there is a scarcity of dollar, therefore making the exchange rate going high at the parallel market. Precisely. Now we're seeing that the prevailing exchange rate indicates a rising parallel market premium, which is the gap between the parallel market rate and that of the INE window. It is not news to us that the federal government, presidency, and the CBN have decided to float the currency, now making the investors and exporters window as the official market or the official exchange rate controllers or deciders of what the exchange rate in the country will be. Now, some few weeks back, we are seeing that the CBN have decided to bring back bury the change operatives, meaning there's no longer unification of the currency and the exchange rate as it is now. However, we saw that they gave precisely mechanisms for operations, giving a limit which the bury the exchange can go above and the limit that they cannot go beyond when it comes to their exchange. Now, before then, we are able to see that the INE window have been able to maintain our exchange rate from within 755 Naira to a dollar, and the most we have witnessed in previous week is 775 Naira to a dollar. Now, weeks later, we're seeing that with the parallel market, that is the unofficial, we know it as the black market or the bury the change exchange market, we are now seeing that the dollar as against Naira, we have seen it go as high as 900. Now, the question is, what is the CBN driving concerning the current exchange rate in the country? Remember, purposely, there is a reason for unification in the first place, and we have been crossing our fingers waiting to see what the INE window will bring to us, and for a period of time there have been some sustainability. Now the bury the change is back, and then the complaint is that there is scarcity, as a lot are saying there is no dollar, and then the demand for it is high. Now it means that a lot of business people and a lot of Nigerians are preferring exchange with black market operatives, and will prefer number of times the unofficial market to the official market, as it is a more flexible market when it comes to exchange, and you would have more value for your dollar if you're in possession of any compared to going to the official official exchange rate that is going to the central bank or banks and transacting. But then we are seeing that this is as a result of scarcity. Now the Central Bank of Nigeria have done a lot to make sure that there is an inflow of the currency, and some of which we've seen is removing the limit in domiciliary accounts and how much will be withdrawn daily, the transactions that can be done. Now we are seeing that regardless of that, there is still a foreign exchange scarcity, meaning the dollar is not available for trade, and therefore causing the uprise in the price in exchange rate for the Naira against the dollar. Now we'll wait and see how this goes, as some bury the change operatives have gone as high as 1,000 Naira to a dollar. Now I hope that the bodies in charge, precisely the CBN, will step in and see how this is being controlled, because in as much as they have given a minimum and a maximum operation for the Bermuda change. Now this factor is beyond these BDC operators. As we can see, the scarcity is the main reason behind this upsurge in the exchange rate, meaning as soon as there is the availability of dollar, we should be able to see, no doubt, that the naira is gaining some value and dropping at least no longer high as 930, or perhaps we stick to our unification where the INE determines the exchange rate, and then we can have one market price and then see how they will be able to sustain the exchange rate for us in the country. Now, not only are Nigerians feeling the hardship or the bite of subsidy removal, but we're now seeing European markets also having this stuff on them. The simple reason is that the consumption of oil have reduced. Now, we've had that report going on for weeks and weeks from month. The first quarter, the second quarter, starting from when the subsidy removal took place, we saw that there have been statistics showing that the daily consumption of petrol in the country has drastically reduced. Now, what that means is that it means also the importation of oil will reduce. Now, marketers are also complaining that they are not even being able to buy the fuel because of dollar scarcity. So we are having not only the bury the change operators complaining concerning dollar scarcity, but even marketers who are in charge of importing and rather distributing and supplying oil in the country also complaining that the foreign scarcity is also affecting the importation of oil into the country. Now we are seeing European marketers who are the ones in charge of refining this oil, buying this crude oil from us and refining it and bringing it back to us, are in the position of finding newer buyers at a newer market because they're major consumers, such countries like Nigeria. And also we can see they were trying to leverage on the Ukraine and Russian war. However, things are also changing as we are seeing that even the consumption in countries like Nigeria, which we consume a lot from them since we are not in the position to refine our oil yet, they are now seeing that the subsidy removal is not only hitting hard on Nigerians due to the hardship, the inflation, and then the current standard of living going low, but now we are seeing that European marketers are also complaining that that they would have to find new buyers. They'll have to find where they will supply. They will have to find where new demand is, and before they get that balance, there would be a lot of havoc in the market for them, and of course a lot of losses will be made and profit will go low. Revenue won't be generated as much as it is, mainly for countries that are also depending largely on exporting this refined oil to countries that consume it a lot, like Nigeria. Now, in line with petrol consumption and subsidy removal, we are seeing that the landing price for petroleum has gone high as 800, and this is just the landing price. Now, in as much as it might sound like a good news that we are having that the crude oil crude oil price per barrel is going high, where the OPEC has put in things in place to make sure that the former price of the crude oil going low will definitely increase. We saw it at a low of $64 to a barrel, and now we are seeing it going as high as $89 per barrel, and now we are seeing it at $94 per barrel. Now, in as much as this might mean more crude oil revenue for Nigerians, it means that the buying of refined petroleum will go higher, because that is how the market works. Now, when these countries that have the purchasing power of the oil, because they have refineries, come and get the crude oil at a higher price than they usually get it, of $94 per barrel, it means that when they get it at that price and they refine it, definitely the price also per barrel of the crude oil that they bring back, of the refined oil, petroleum, PMS precisely, that they bring back to us, will be higher. So now it means that now with subsidy removal gone, it means that there will be more money going into buying refined oil back into the country. Now, we always know that the cost of finished products are always higher than raw materials. Now, that will be the situation of Nigeria as it is now, because if these countries that are in charge of refining are getting crude oil at a higher price, they need to make profit. Therefore, we will be getting our premium motor spirit back to the country at a higher cost. Now, this put emphasis on the fact that we need our refineries running in the country. One is not good enough. A partially functioning refinery is not good enough, but we need more than 2 or 3 refineries working in this country. Having 5 refineries, 6 refineries will be perfect, because it be not only we will meet our daily consumption, but we will be able to export to other countries that are in need of oil, and then we will have to not worry at all about the increase in the crude oil price per barrel. But until that is done, we will continue to see that the crude oil price per barrel increase will definitely affect how much will be the landing cost of refined oil in Nigeria. Now, despite seeing that people are lamenting and complaining about fuel subsidy removal, it looks like the importation of used vehicle is still on the increase, is still very high. And then it just proves the fact that cars are not luxury but necessities, because people need to move from one place to another, and regardless of what the price the fuel pump price might be as it is now, this petrol is a necessity, and we needed to move from one place. As we are seeing that the spending on importation of used vehicles have gone to as high as 733.92 billion naira just in the first half of 2023, and then we will wait for the report for the second half of the year. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics has disclosed that 733.9 billion naira worth of used car were imported into the country in the second quarter of 2023. Now, foreign trade in goods statistics, this is from a report of foreign trades of goods in statistics. Now, the high importation of cars made it the second most imported product in the period, coming behind premium motor spirit. So alongside the consumption of fuel, we are having Nigerians consuming used vehicles. Now, this is despite the federal government raising car import duties by 40%. Yes, if we can remember, the government have increased this. We're talking about 8 weeks back or more, where the government increased 40% excise duty on importation of used cars into the country. Now, we are seeing that despite this excise duty or 40%, in addition to 2% adjustment on vehicles manufactured beyond 12 years, we are seeing that the consumption is going high of used vehicle. We are having more businesses that need vehicles. We are having personal use for vehicles. We are having companies. We are having transport business booming in the country, and therefore there is a need for this used vehicle. However, we're looking forward to a Nigeria where we are no longer importing these cars, but rather manufacturing it in this country. Now, a lot of things have to be put in place. First of all, our mining has to be on point, and second of all, we have to have our steel mills moving and fully functional. Now, until we get there, we will continue to see a surge in the increase of imported vehicles, and these are basically used cars, not even brand new vehicles. We will keep seeing an increase in that, but until then, we will wait and see how things unfold economically in the country, most especially when it comes to industrialization and manufacturing of goods such as cars in the country. Now, we're still having our debt profile going high, even when it feels like maybe for a moment we are having a pause in our borrowing spree, as the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, have clearly stated that we will not be borrowing as much as we used to before. we have internal debts that are going high, and these reports are coming from the Debt Management Office. Now, they have disclosed that Nigeria's total public debt has hit 87.38 trillion naira at the end of the second quarter of 2023. Now, this figure represents an increase of 75.29% or 37.53 trillion naira compared to 49.85 trillion naira recorded in the end of March. Now, we're looking at the first quarter of the year. Now, Nigerian total public debt stock as of June 30th, 2023 was 87.38 trillion naira. We're looking at about $113 billion. It comprises the total domestic and external debt of the federal government of Nigeria, the 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the major addition to the public debt stock was the inclusion of the 22.712 trillion naira scrutinized basically of the ways and means. If you remember, there have been the ways and means 22.7 trillion naira advances of the ways and means. Now, this was before the current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This started with the president Muhammadu Buhari. Now, the Debt Management Office had earlier projected that the country's public debt burden may hit 77 trillion, definitely following these ways and means. So there have been predictions. So it is not news to us, of course. If you have been following our debt profile, this shouldn't be news to anybody that we have reached such high of 77 trillion when it comes to our debt, and this is over 75% increase. Now, with the ways and means, of course, now we're looking forward hopefully to have an accountable system of governance and a very transparent one, because this ways and means advance is a big money. We're looking at 22, whether we like it or not, it's making up for over 30% of our total debt profile. So something should be done about it, and then we hope to see that this money is being put to good use and whatever it's been meant for, not that we would just be having accumulated debt and nothing to show for it. Now, there have been grid load collapses over the years. Last year we've encountered a good number of power grid load collapse, and this year we had one recently. Now, in midst of that, we are having the president of the African Development Bank, or the African Development Bank entirely, saying that they will come to the aid precisely of rural areas to make sure that we have electricity, and of course grid logs don't collapse, don't happen anymore. Now, Nigeria's off-grid renewable energy space could see a cash rain, as the Minister of Power says the African Development Bank has confirmed its readiness to disburse a previously approved $250 million for rural electrification projects. In a message posted on social media, we are having the Minister of Power, who was attending the Korea African Economic Cooperation Ministerial Conference held in Busan, South Korea, indicated that the fund for the Nigerian electrification project under the Rural Electrification Agency is on the way. Now, the African Development Bank also confirmed readiness to disburse a previously approved $250 million fund to the Nigerian electrification project. So now we are having the Minister of Power confidently saying that this project will finally see the light of day, because the African Development Bank are finally coming through to disburse the $250 million that they have promised that will go into this project, this power project. And this will extend support to northern Nigerian state through the $20 billion 10,000 megawatt Northern African Desert to Power Fund. Now, these are all under the power project, and the $250 million will also go into financing this Northern Power project. Now, the project is expected to contribute to more than 500,000 people obtaining access to electricity, approximately 76.5 megawatts in increased installed power generation capacity, 8 universities obtaining access to the reliable sources of energy, 2,000 macro, small, and medium-sized enterprises supported and supplied with productive use appliances and equipment, and the avoidance of 1.69 million tons of CO2 emission. Now, of course, if we can have $250 million pumped into power projects in Nigeria precisely for rural areas, then of course we will see small and medium scale businesses thriving. We will see communities becoming better. We will see universities having access, and of course we will see development. In the past week, we have seen manufacturers complaining of the cost of diesel and how the hike in fuel pump prices has affected their businesses. Now imagine a situation which of course we will be witnessing that due to such funding into electricity, where we wouldn't be having manufacturers or small businesses complaining about the increase of diesel prices or any oil product that is being used to power machines for production, but then having full access to electricity. Then some of the problems we have when it comes to manufacturing and of course the cost of production, we'll also see that we will be having goods that are at affordable prices, and inflation will be able to be curtailed on a lot of level. And this is how far we go today on Business and Finance. Keep a date with me next time. Goodbye.